Hello and welcome to Muscular Learning and Musky TV. Grade 12, I hope you guys are ready to learn this part of trigonometry that we have agreed and promised each other. So we are still going to look at the previous question papers that was done as we prepare for our trial examination. The question paper used is your 2024 final examination, simple because this is a trial examination for which trigonometry have been covered long before now, which was covered in term 1. So because of that, we have then decided to use your previous question paper, which one and some people have written last year. So within this session, at the end of it, we're going to just try to do a recap, and then we go deep into what we need to do, which is solving some exam type questions about these 2D shapes and also the 3D shapes using the trigonometric rules, and how to then interpret and draw the graph provided we are given, right? So the recap here, remember your soccer tour, which is what we have here. So sine of an angle, if you are given a right angle, the triangle, sine of any angle, then it's going to be opposite divided by hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent of hypotenuse. You guys know this song already. And then tan is opposite and adjacent. For those who don't know or can't remember, simply take a screenshot, then we will use it as we go forward. These are very important because you guys would never get this in your formula sheet. So please make sure that you can know them by heart, okay? So let's go, as well as your cast table. Nobody will give this to you. You just need to know which quadrant is what positive and which quadrant is what negative. In this case, we have all our sine trigonometric ratio that you need to know how to deal with as compared to the first slide. Okay. One more important thing that you have to also look and remember, it's your compound and double angles. The compound angles, you can just quickly, this one, you will get it in your formula sheet because it's there. But it's very, very important for you to actually capture them and understand them before you just run to the question paper. All right. So let's see, just a quick recap and just showing a little bit of what the sine rule can be. In this case, our sine rule, it is going to be, if we use this triangle that is given, triangle ABC, the sine rule can be written as sine of any angle divided by its side equals to sine of the other angle divided by its side, which you can also say it's equals to the sine of the other angle divided by its side. So that is very important for us to stick to it. So please take note and make sure that you always write it like that. And this works if you have any triangle, be a right angle triangle or not. So you can then use if you have two angles and one side, and also if you have two sides and one angle, which either be an included or not. So please take note that as well. To recap, for you to know, this will also be in your formula sheet, but you need to remember them that for a triangle ABC, when you are dealing with cosine rule, you need an angle or you need 3 full sides. If one angle is not given, then you are given 3 full sides. That simple means that you will then be looking for the angle. So you need to just try and capture that, okay, because that is very important. Okay, also we have the area rule. With the area rule as well, you need an included angle for you to have to work with the area rule. So if the angle is not included, you might have to first start with sine rule or cosine rule for you to go to the area. So in this case, when you're looking for area, just remember that the sides that you use all the time has to have an included angle with those two sides, which I always just use my hand like this to say this angle in between my hands must be an included angle. Okay. I hope you guys have captured that. But as we are looking at this, I need you guys to settle down for like few minutes, a very few minutes. As you settle down, take your calculator, your paper, your pen, and everything that you need for us to hit the ground together. So, but if you don't have the exam paper, which I've said 2024, you can just take a snapshot here. We have our question 7 from the final examination 2024 grade 12 question paper. Just take this, and then after that you take this one, and then we'll come back and work with it together. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes for you to capture that, and then we can be able to run with it. See you right back. I am very sure that you guys are eager to do this with me. So let's not waste more time and just go do it together. Okay, so since we have the diagram, before you do anything, try to understand your diagram, and then you can go and answer the question. Please remember, grade 12, you cannot answer any question in maths that has a diagram, be it a theorem or any other diagram that you have, without you analyzing your diagram. So make sure that before you do anything, you understand what you have in the diagram or on the diagram. So let's do that first before we go in. So they say in the diagram below, the graph of f of x equals tan x is drawn from the interval. They even gave us an interval there of x is an element of negative 180 to a positive 180 as it's shown. Right. So what is important is that you know that tan is actually a dancing kind of a graph. So if it's dancing, then we know that is our tan graph. And now we have our tan equation that is given to us. What is important in the tan graph is actually the asymptotes. So you know the meaning of the asymptote is that none of the graphs will touch that particular line. And in this case, our asymptote are actually highlighted to us as a negative 90 degrees and a positive 90 degrees. If I were you, what I will do then is just to write the equations right away. So what will be the equations of this one? Then this will be x equals negative 90 degrees. That is my equation of the asymptote. And then the other one will be x equals 90 degrees. This particular thing, when you are busy reviewing it like that, you can win 1 mark at least just by doing that. So let's see what then the question is having for us. Are we ready? Let's see. Okay, so they said write down the equation of the asymptote. Voila! We just have answered the question just by analyzing. As I said to you guys, pay attention. Okay, so then yes, when we are looking for the equation of the asymptote, they gave us the interval. That is very important. So you cannot just go and say, I know the asymptote, like we did as we were showing it here. They've given us the interval. So pay attention. They said that the interval is from 0 up until positive 180. So that is what you look at. You ignore the other part and then you focus on that. Then you'll be able to respond to the question. So let's see. What can it be? I'm very sure that you guys are excited in this way because that is showing the answers how we can do it. So please put it on the chat if you understand and you have managed to get the answer as x will be equals to 90 degrees. And if you have a question about it, ask, we'll be able to come and assist, right? Here they say write down the values of x in the interval x is an element of negative 180 and 0, for which, very, very important, for which f of x is less or equals to 0. I always say the meaning of length means below What is f of x? Literally, f of x is the same as y, right? So y or f of x is the whole graph. So in this case, they are talking about tan x. So the whole of tan x, wherever it is, that it will be below the line y equals 0. So let's check that. We need to go back to our graph and then we see what can the answer be. So if you check here, they said from negative 180 to 0. So you are looking for the value of x, whereby x will be below this line y equals, this is the line y equals 0 we are talking about, right? So below this line. So if you check here, for example, they said less or equals to. Very important. F of x is less or equals to 0. So anything that you find which is equals to or less, that will be an answer. So first point, you can see that this point here, which is x equals negative 180, that will be the answer. So you're going to say x is equals to negative 180 degrees. Are we following? Okay, perfect. Another one, so if you were someone who is like not carefully and not paying attention, you will literally just come and start here up until there. But if you look at it, you actually have the position where you can be able to answer the question properly. So let's see. If I have said the first one is where x is actually equals to negative 180. The other one will be the point whereby I have seen that this is going to be below. So I said to you guys that whenever you see less than, you need to put some words into it, because less than in the graph is not just a symbol like it would have been when you are dealing with just a normal inequalities. And that is why when I did my algebra, if you remember very well, I used the graph to represent inequalities, because it helps us when we come to this point. So this, yes, it's called less than, but it can also be called below the graph y equals 0. Or you can actually say where the graph is negative. So these are the 3 points you need to remember. So where the graph is negative, what is the graph? Y. So in this y-axis, where y is negative, is where we are talking about less than. You got that, right? I'm very sure that you have managed that one. So we have found this one, and then now we look at this two. Can x be equal to negative 90? Yes or no? Not this one, because we have an asymptote there. So when we respond to that one, we are going to, therefore, it's either you use two methods. You can say x is an element of, right? And the other one, you put a round, not a square bracket. And then you put a negative 90. Why? Because 90 is not included. For this graph, 90 would never be part of the answer when we are answering like this. So that is what you're going to write, and then up until 0. But guess what? For the 0, it's included. Then that means you're going to put your square bracket. Okay. I guess you guys can follow this. This is one way, but then the other way for this particular one, which is, I'm talking about the other way of representing the second part, that one will have to be, let's remove this, disturbing us. That other one will have to be, you can write it as an interval of inequalities as well, but then remember, we're going to put negative 90 without an equal sign, but we are going to put 0 with an equal sign. So you can write it in this format, or you can write it in this format, but the first one is important. It has to be there because it's part and parcel of the answer. Okay. Let's check the third one. You guys got this. We can do this, right? So the third one, they say you are given now g of x equals cos 2x plus 1. Write down the period of g. Now with this one, you have to first remember what is the period and how do we then determine the period. So every time you get something in maths, you need to try and just refer back. So the period, therefore, it's actually, normally if you don't want to stress yourself, it will be the number that you find, or it will be the number that you find when you draw the complete graph. So in the course graph, it will start normally like when you draw the graph. I'm just going to do a quick one. It starts there and it goes there and it goes up and it goes like this. So with this being done, we know that this will be 0 and that will be where your 90 is, and your 180, your 270, and this will be your 360. So this is your full wave of how the graph will look like if I have to draw the graph just like that. Just remember to, when you are drawing it, you have to label them. And also for now, because I have stopped it, I'm just going to put the things there. This is not drawn up to scale, guys. So please don't go and say, Teacher Tandy, have drawn it in Musky TV like that. So this is an example of what we describe as a period. So for example, this will be just for y or cos, f of x equals cos x. Just like that, because we have nothing on it, so that is how the period will be. But the moment I have something in front of my angle, that will affect my period completely. So that is why I have drawn this for you guys to look at as a reference, right? So look at this. What will then be the period of g of x equals cos of 2x plus 1? What will then be the period of g of x equals cos 2x plus 1? Do you see now there's a difference between my 2x and my x? So that's what tells me how the period will be determined. So what you're going to do there is then you're going to take your normal period that you'd usually have, and then you're going to divide by 2. Why? Because every point of x that we should have will be divided by 2. So therefore, the period will be equals to, can you put it in the chat? Yes, it's going to be 360 divided by 2, which will then be 180 degrees. So that's how you'll go to your period when you have such questions. Okay. Are you guys with me? Now we need to pay attention to how we answer 7.3.2, because this one then it needs you to focus quite a bit. So they said on the grid given, which they will give you when you're answering the questions in the final examination or even the trial, draw the graph of. So they gave us the equation that we have just looking for the period, g of x equals cos 2x plus 1 for the interval negative 180 and to 180, right? Clearly show your intercept with axis as well as the coordinate of the turning point. So let's do that. So what you do in your normal pace where you are answering this question, you go to the one that is given to you. So you can see this is what we are given. And you're also starting from a negative 180 to a positive 180. So you can just go there and then you can then draw your graph nicely there. Let's see. You can draw your graph nicely there. So how would you have drawn the graph, or what is it that will help you to draw the graph? Usually I just have my normally graph like this one, and then I divide it by 2. All the time I divided by 2, it moved, but just because we were talking about this. But there is plus 1. So plus 1 simple means that the whole graph that I have will just go up 1 unit. So that's what the meaning of plus 1 would be. In the normal case, this graph would have started normally here by 1 like that, and then it goes this way, and then it goes down like this. So it would have gone like this way. Let me show you. It would have gone this way. Remove that. The graph would have gone in this way, start here, come here, and then go down with the one corresponding there, touches there, and then go up like that, and then it would have went here and then correspond with the one like that. So that's how the graph would have looked like, right? But because there's +1, then this +1 allows the graph to move up 1 unit. So if you have this, you can actually trace it and then you put it up, then you draw it like that, and then you complete the circle. Just like that. Is it easy, guys? I'm very, very sure that most of you have got that one, right? If not, please ask the question. So please just make sure that you can ask us questions. So as I was trying to indicate to you guys, my green graphs is the graph that I would have called it y equals cos of 2x, right? As compared to my other one, which was y equals cos x. So let's write it actually underneath. There's no space for us there. So this is the graph where we call it y equals cos of 2x. Remember to label your graph all the time. So because this one have been labeled G for us, we know G is the one that has +1. So that means that our other graph, or the other cos graph, will be G of x equals to cos 2x plus 1, right? Whereas our other f graph is the graph of f of x equals tan x, which was given. They won't penalize you for not even labeling that one, but for your own good, you just need to know which graph is which and what is representing that particular graph. We have one more question to answer. So the next question says, use the graph. Where's that question? The next question says, use the graph to determine the general solution of this particular equation. So what is important with that question, let's start, is that you recognize what you have and what you don't have. So just a recap, we have this graphs, f of x equals tan x. And we have another one, which is g of x equals cos 2x plus 1. Remember these two graphs? So if ever we were told to use the graph to answer the question or to do something, we need to work towards this. So with what we are given though, we don't have what we have to work towards it. So what is the strategy? The strategy will be, you must just make sure that you simplify that until you see this part, right? Let's do it together. So we have 2 cos cubed x minus sine x equals 0. What do we want to do, or what do we want to achieve? To somehow have tan and to somehow have cos 2x. So let's do this. First of all, I would have just left my 2 here, and I have my cos cubed x equals sine x. Why am I saying that? Because I want to try and have tan. And I know if I have sine and then somehow divided by cos, I will have my tan. Remember, that is one of your identity. So if I come this side and I divide by cos x, but the reason I'm dividing by cos x is because I saw that I can also divide my left by cos x, right? Yes. So if I do that, I will then have 2 cos squared x. Do we see that? And this can then be equals to sine divided by cos. That is my tan x. At this point, I'll start being happy a little bit to say I've got what I'm looking for. Are you guys able to see that? Literally, yes, there, but not completely, because here we still have cos squared x. So I'm just going to give you a hint a little bit. If you remember one of the things I said you must know, you must manage. So you'd have run back to your what? You run back to your formula sheet and check what it is that you can do to make sure that this look like cos 2x plus 1. Right? So let's see, if I want to have that, I have to do something. First of what I need to do would to change this cos squared x for some reason to have what I'm looking for. So if we go to the cos space, for us to end up with cos 2 of something, we can use either of this. So you can see there's cos squared alpha minus 1. I need to create that. For me to create it, I would have to subtract 1 both sides of my equation. That's my best bet. So I have 2 cos squared x equals tan x, right? So what is it that I need to do? To meet my goal or to reach my goal is to subtract 1 on the left as well as right. So what I do on the left, I do on the right. As soon as I subtract 1, can you see that? Can you see that now I have this part, which is the same as this one, which I was looking for, right? So that's what you needed to have done. Then after that, I know that, okay, then I can change this whole thing to be written as cos 2x. Hey, do you guys see we now have our cos 2x? Maths. It's literally mathing, eh? Then this will be equals to tan x minus 1. But now we need only tan x. So what are we going to do? We are going to then add the 1 both sides of our equation. So if I add 1 on the right, literally I want to remove the minus 1. So what I do on the right, I must as well do on the left. So that means I would end up with cos 2x plus 1 equals tan x. Hey. There. We have what we are looking for all this time, like a treasure. So we now have it. Then that means we can now go to our graphs and use them to get to the answer. Remember the question was saying, use the graph to answer this. So let's run to the graph and then we use the graph to answer the question, because they said use the graph to determine the general solution. So when I'm here, I don't have to worry about anything else. That's why it's 4 marks. I just have to go to my graphs that I have. If you guys allow me, please, to delete this part so that we can be able to look at the graphs in the new space, right? So there we go. Now we have our graphs. Look at that. What are they looking for? We are looking for any point where the equation of g of x, let me just write it down for you guys, where the equation of g of x is actually equals to f of x. So sometimes they will not tell you that this equation is that equals to that equation. What they will do, they will just give you f of x and g of x. Pay attention. So here they are saying to us that where is it that the two graphs are going to be equal? So we just come here and then we analyze that. We say, okay, where do I have my two graphs equal? Let's check. The graph of f equals the graph of g at this point here. Again, they will also be equals here. So what does that mean? We are just looking at the point of intersection of the two graphs. That is what we are looking for. So this part here, if you have looked at your graph properly, you would see that it's actually negative 135 degrees. And then this point here, it's positive 45 degrees. Do we agree? So if that's the case, you have done what you have to do. Where is the value of x where the two are equal? So you're just going to finalize it in here and you say that x will then be equals to negative 135 degrees plus, some use n, some use k, but then you can use either one. K multiplied by 180 degrees, where k is an element of integers, right? So what is it that we are saying here? We are saying every point that we can add and make it a k point, whatever 1, negative 1, 2, whatsoever, it still have to be the solution of what we are looking for, hence general solution. But remember, guys, that when we were looking at the period in our first question, we did find that our period is actually 180 degrees. So that's why we are using it for 180 degrees in both, even though we have cos and we have tan. So for some reason, the period of them all is the same. So that's why we are saying it like that. And that's one of the answer. Or, because we have 2, x will be equal to 45 degrees plus k times 180 degrees, where k is an element of integers. Easy, right? So that is actually how we're going to answer these questions. And there's many, many other ways that you could have done and answered the questions. Like this is another way where you would have just taken out the common factor. But if you look at the scenario there, it's literally the same as what we have done here. We have just made sure that we make it easier and simple for everyone to understand. Guys, are you fine? Are we here? Wake up, wake up, wake up. This is called maths, and we are here with Muscular Learning and Musky TV. I'm just going to give you a 2 minutes breather, then we can hit the ground again. Stay tuned. You guys have relaxed a little bit. Are we awake? Okay, let's hit again. This is very, very easy, guys. You just have to keep on practicing. But before we run this marathon and leave each other behind, we do have one question, which is, what is the meaning of K? Anyone to respond? On the chat, please, can we just help each other for everybody to understand why are we saying K is actually what we are looking for. So I am just highlighting my case there. Okay, so K is any integer or any integer number that you can put and get to the answer. Hence, you remember I said some uses K and some uses N, because that is what is used to represent an unknown number that we can put. So you can simply put like a -3 or a 4 or a 5 or so like that. If one of the questions in grade 12, they will ask you to find the general solution, but they give you the interval. So when they give you the interval, you're going to first write this statement like this, as we did here. Okay? But for you to get the correct answer, if they say from the interval 0 to 90, you will then have to substitute many, many numbers to K so that you can have one number as an answer, right? So in this case, you would have come and say X will be equals to 45 as one of the answer, because if we say from 0 to 108, or let's say 0 to 90, then you come and say, okay, X will then be equals to 45 degrees, then we can substitute 1, because the first one is when we substitute 0, then we get 45. If we come to K and we substitute then 1, then we multiply it by 180. Then this you will see that it's then add on, and that became what? It became 225. So that is how you actually know what K can be. So therefore, K can be any number that we put, but that number must be an integer. Okay, so I will still wait for the other questions that comes for me to respond if you need to, which we are just moving to the next one for us to just respect you guys and make sure that we can. Please feel free, go back, ask the question, we'll answer them as soon as they reach me so that I can be able to answer them. I'm not sure if there's any other questions about the K method or the K value that we have talked about. If there is, please put it on the chat, and my assistants will help me to get to the answer as soon as possible. Okay. Now, the question 8 on the same question paper, it had something like this, a very beautiful house, but it shows that houses are also using our trigonometry to get to where they want to go. So, but anyway, that is a story of another day. Let's just check what we have here. We said, in question 8, they said, in the diagram, C is the foot, right? C is the foot of a vertical building, and D is the top on the same building. So you can see there, that's what they are showing. This is the two parts. And then they said the height of this building is CD. So where is CD? So this is CD, and they said it's 16 meters. So they have given us that. Two observers, so like there's two people who are checking something. They literally were standing 19 meters apart. So like the two people standing apart like this, there's our A and there's our B. As they were standing like that apart, then point A and B, they said where A, B, and C lies on the same horizontal plane. So please don't look at this and you see like there's something that is on top of something. They just create this one because this is the way they do it geometrically in terms of representing the figures. But it's actually on the floor. It's the ground. They just geometrically represent it like that. So don't be alerted too much. Just take note that the part that you are seeing here is the ground. So this highlighted gray part, it's your ground. Right. A painter is working at point E. So that is a point E. It's actually here the middle, right, on the building. So the angle of elevation, I always just refer to the elevation about like looking up. Like that. So the angle of elevation is from D, of D basically from A. So from A going up to D, if you're looking up like that, is 46,85. You can see there. And also we are given that D, that is D, D angle EB, which is this angle here, it's equals to 122 degrees. And also we are given that B angle CA is 105,61, right? So that is the information we have, and the information look like we can go with it. Just as long as you remember that this part here, the angles that are between here, because it's the plane, they are always 90 degrees, right? Here they say calculate the length of AC. Now you first have to look at where is AC. So AC is actually on the two triangle CBA or ABC. You can see the bottom one, and also DCA. So if they want you to find AC, you need to just try and figure out which triangle are you going to use and why, right? So that is the distance between the observer A to the footer of the building. So it is just 2 marks. So when I'm looking at it, I'm saying I have an angle, I have one side, I'm looking for the other side. What can we use? It's 2 marks. Folks, please come on, just look at it properly, look at what you have, what you are looking for. In this case, I would literally go for triangle DCA. That's the triangle we can go to. Why? Because we do have one side and an angle. So, but if you look at it, I'm looking for the side that is opposite my angle, and I'm given the side that is opposite my angle, and I'm looking at the side that is adjacent to the angle. So you see that. That means we can only use what? Cos. So if I have cos of my angle A, that will be equals to opposite. No, not cos. That is not true. Because cos only have adjacent, but we need hypotenuse, which we don't have. Sine have opposite. We need hypotenuse, which we don't have. So that means we need something that has opposite and adjacent, which is going to be tan. Okay. So let's use tan. Tan of an angle A will be equals to opposite, which is DC, over adjacent, which is AC or CA, like that. This is what we are looking for. This is what we have. Then we're going to write it as tan 46,85 degrees, which will be equals to, DC is given to be 16. We are looking for AC. So since we are looking for AC, we need to move it for it to be alone. We can multiply both sides by AC so that AC, this side divide, and we remain with only 16. And here we'll have AC tan 46,85 degrees. Then when we have that, remember we are looking for AC, so we'll come and divide both sides by tan 46,85 degrees, divide by tan 46,85 degrees. Then our tan on the left will divide and we remain only with AC. So AC will therefore be equal to, you can quickly do the calculator and then you can get what that will be. So it will be like 14,999, and if we do the proper maths calculation, which always in your question paper, they would have asked you to round to at least 2 decimal places or 1. But if you do this rounding, you will see that you're literally getting 15 meters. So AC is actually 15 meters. So here I have tried to show it properly for you to be able to respond or to follow it up properly like that. Okay. Then we go to the next one. They said, calculate how far the painter at E is from the top of the building. So let's do this so that we can be able to see properly. We are looking at now something else. They want to know how far, which is the distance, right? So how far will the painter at E, which is here, right, is from the top of the building. So practically we are looking at the ED, right? So that is what we are looking for. So you can see that the two of them, ED and EC, is the one that gives us 16, but not either of them giving us 16. So with that, you would need to therefore look at how you're going to respond to the question. First of all, you would have to select the equation or the graph that has what you are looking for. So if you look at this particular graph or particular diagram, we already know that we can use this one, like which we have here. Where did it go? We can use this B. Now we can use this one. But before we can even try and get it, because now we just got another point which we said is 15. Remember we said this will now be 16 meters, like we now have 16. So if I have this particular one, I need only to find the point which I'm looking for here. And it is given. So this is now your tip. It is given 7 marks. So you cannot just go and say, okay, this is 16 minus 4, then that is no. You would need to calculate it properly for you to get to the answer in a good way. So here you can see we have used our triangle ABC, which is this one, and with the angle that I just highlighted for you to say you can now use your angle 105. But now you would then need to also look at what values do you have and where did you get it from. So let's go and check. So you do have your 15, which is here. You do have your 19 there. So you can be able to actually look for another side which is not given. And in this case, your side will be side BC, right? For you to be able to then use the small triangle to find EC. Do you see the process we are going to now? So you need to first find this. We need to first find that. But before we can go to this triangle, we would have used the triangle BCA. But for us to be able to use it, remember we have one side, the second side, and an angle. And I said to you, you can only do that when you are given cosine rule. not the sine rule. So that is why when you check here, you see that we went and used cosine rule. Remember, in your formula sheet, cosine rule will be given, but it won't be having AB, right? It might have something else, or it has small letter A, small letter B. You have to adapt to what it is that you have. So please pay attention to that, and then you can now use your equation, your graph the way it was given to you, which is the one that we are applying cosine rule in, this one. Then you can substitute your AB as 19 and your AC as 15 for you to find the BC. And that is what I have shown here, the method that is used. What you don't know is BC, so that was used as X. You can leave it as BC. No one will say anything. So you can leave it like that, and then you use your calculator like that until you get to the answer. Just because these questions have decimal fractions, you will have to use the formula, which is your quadratic formula. Do you see, guys, that math is actually connected? There's no way that you can factorize this without a quadratic formula, which some of you think that is for algebra. We can use it everywhere where we are factorizing. Doesn't have to be in algebra alone. So that's how we get to the answers. But remember, your answer cannot be negative because we are talking about the bleeding. So it can't be a negative answer. We only have it as a positive answer. And then from there, you would have then to have your space where you can then use your right-angled triangle. That is the one we're trying to avoid all the time. And then because now you have it, you can now calculate your value of DE from the value of EC that is given. How do you calculate it? Remember, you were given that the whole of CE or the whole of CD was 16 meters. So you take it from there, right? You're going to minus the 5,19 from the 16, and that will give you 10,81 meters. So that is actually how you're going to go through the steps. So first, when you are given this particular question, what you need to do is to identify what diagram you're going to use, because you are given 3 triangles. So you need to choose one triangle and allocate what you have and what you don't have, so you know which triangle to use. And choose the method that is best suitable for what you have to check. And that is what we have just discovered. I hope you guys have enjoyed the lesson as I have done, and I believe that this will help you to prepare the trigonometry when you are writing your trial examination, even when you are writing the final. You can actually share it with your siblings for next year, right? Muscular Learning and Musky TV will stay here to help you and ensure that you guys do this math as simple as you can. I think for this time, we have met our deadline and managed to show off what we need to do. Guys, remember, when you get stuck, we have a friend called Musky. Just save his number. It's 072-091-0388. He will help you step by step to understand what you don't understand, like your personal tutor in maths. Stay with us. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
And now we enter our next exciting chapter with the launch of Maskiverse, an inspiring trio of innovations, our AI-powered learning companion, captivating TV content, and a vibrant playground for interactive learning, and our own dedicated app, all coming together beautifully to deliver learning outcomes through technology.